Welcome to our new series, The Body's Truth, the Inside Story. In this series, we are discovering a remarkable sensing instrument that is the body. Our body senses what is true or untrue at multiple levels. It also brings together many experiences from the past and the present, and it is always sending you wise messages. These messages reveal a wisdom from the deep, deep sea inside you. But you can only listen to your body when you have patience, clarity, and courage. Then let's begin.
Join spiritual psychologist and India's #1 biofeedback practitioner, Ritu Malhotra, as she guides you through the paths of self-discovery and personal transformation so that you can live in alignment with your values and purpose. This podcast is brought to you by AJNA Center for Learning. To know more about AJNA and connecting with the host, check out the links given in show notes. You are listening to the Cellular Alchemist podcast, and here's your host, Ritu Malhotra.
The mind's eye. Imagination. Imagination is where magic starts. It's the greatest creative faculty that we possess. Actually, it's at the heart of creation. Imagination is what makes us human, really. And as humans, we have developed a forebrain, which makes us different from animals. And imagination comes from this part of the brain. This is the front of the brain, the forebrain. This part allows us to make new choices, allows us to feel, and most importantly, this is the part where we can get away from moments when we feel meaninglessness or loneliness or hopelessness. Imagination gives us stories and helps us to live our stories. At a very fundamental level, it tells you that you can create an alternative reality, an alternate life, really. So I want to share my personal experience of how this worked for me. I wanted a home. And I wanted a house on a hill, surrounded by trees, almost forest-like. A home that was abundant with natural light and natural life. Quiet, like a sanctuary. So I found a hillock, away from the city. And it was perfect. But that's where it ended. It was barren, just a few shrubs, no source of water, no roads, and only sporadic access to electricity. Yes, what was I going to do? I had my work cut out for me. It wasn't easy, but my vision of what I wanted as my haven remained clear in my head. I called it Forest Park, very aspirationally, and that was 30 years ago. So now, 30 years later, we have a home which is surrounded by lush vegetation. Almost 5,000 trees shelter our space. There is wildlife and there is peace. So, you first have to see it in the mind's eye before it becomes a reality. In fact, all inventions were first conceived in the mind. Someone had to imagine a ship sailing, an aeroplane in flight, or a light bulb. Now, the new neuroscientific research tells us that through the imagination, you can actually go into the future and bring it into the present by imagining that it's already happened. Remember, the brain and body makes no distinction between real and imagined experience. So all imagination creates emotion. And the body too responds instantly to that emotion. Whenever you allow yourself to imagine, you may not get an immediate insight, but you'll still get more awareness and a feeling of relief. Once we realize that our options are not limited, that starts the creative juices flowing and a rejuvenation process begins. Let me give you an example. Let us say that your marriage or your relationship isn't going anywhere. There is a lot of stress there, and you are feeling unloved or uncared for. Now take a moment to imagine yourself with someone who does love you. Even an old heartthrob will do. It's just in the imagination. So let yourself do that. Now, if you repeat this exercise enough and with enough vivid imagination, you will begin to feel that. You'll begin to feel loved because your focus will now go on how loved you are, even though it was in the past. And therefore, it begins the process of feeling worthy of love, where before you were feeling unworthy or uncared for. This feeling of worth can alter your reality and magnetize love in your direction. Believe me, this is possible. It's happened with me. Most likely your attitude and appearance will change too. And when your partner sees the new you exhibiting a different side of yourself, who knows? It may create an equally positive change in your partner too. Don't take my word for it. Try it. See it for yourself.
That was this week's episode for the Cellular Alchemist podcast with spiritual psychologist Ritu Malhotra. Don't forget to follow the podcast and join us next week for yet another episode. Thank you for listening.